I think it's very important that you strike up a workable relationship with the municipalities. First of all, because it's their city, like in the city of Amsterdam. Now, to give you just a very short example, we engaged with the city of Amsterdam 2 years ago because they had a problem regarding their inner city. So everyone knows the city center of Amsterdam. And what we offered, alongside with our clients, to be a trustworthy and long-term investor and solve those problems, which will take not 7 years, I think, but we finally agreed on a 15-year agreement with them, investing in the inner city and at the same time getting new build elsewhere in the city. Now, if you really analyze this, it comes across like, are you in a good stakeholder partnership? So do we really understand what is at stake on the inner city in terms of the affordability of housing, in all of those issues we might have on Airbnb and the tourist and the footfall? And we're trying to come up with a solution for that. And you need sufficient capital, you need some, let's say, endurance, and you need to align yourself not only with the municipality but also with the social housing corporations. And I think that's the new cooperation model, what we see in the future. It doesn't only apply to Amsterdam, it applies to all other municipalities in the Netherlands. Make a good working relationship, partnership with social housing corporations and with the municipalities. That works.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with Jaap on the side that it's a longer term relationship, but I think what we figured out, maybe not so much in the Dutch market, but from a German perspective, is that also the local governments have to realize that they need the private or the professional investors to help them, that they not can, that we still have to make a profit on what we are doing. And I think that's a very slow process for a lot of governments or local communes to realize if an investor comes in, he has some kind of goal behind it, and that has to do with making some kind of profit. And that's not a bad thing in itself because it can help to get something going, but also the local government has to accept that the rules of the game, if the private investors come in, are a little different if they completely operate on their own speed of operation.
And I have to say, I fully agree with Chris. You never should forget about the people, because they make the city.
Yes.
So if you look at the city, you need to start the question with why. Why would people like to visit the city, work in the city, live in the city, be a tourist in Amsterdam or elsewhere? If you can't answer those questions, you're probably in the wrong city.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand the city, don't invest in it. Well, okay.
I had some comments, but maybe the government point of view first.
Yeah, and for some council members, the mirror of the city is a little damp. They don't know what they see. They are not used to look at themselves as an attractive city, and they have to be aware of it because of the discussion with the private parties. They are more aware about what have I to offer, what is my identity, what is my DNA, and how can I use this discussion with the public and the private parties to reformulate my DNA and to be aware of what I have to offer. And it's also an important lesson that I learned as a chair of the retail agenda, that is interaction and the discussion between public and private parties is really important to know each other better. Not only you know what the city knows about the people, but also to be reflective to what they say and have comments on it so they can formulate their position in a better way.
Coming from a German perspective, at least we have a lot of rules governing the German market that makes it very hard for the governments to go deeper in the red. So for them, they increasingly realize that private money is the only way they can get some city redevelopment going. So I think as more as this process sets in, it will help to make the interaction between private investors and the local governments better. But I think it's still a long way to go because often I realize it's a different mindset you're talking to. It's a completely different mindset, and that only changes slowly. But it will. Demographics will help us.
And Chris, you want to...
Yeah, I want to come back to this point. I mean, the way you phrased it the second time around makes more sense. Private sector needs to make a profit. The government needs to recognize it. Too often, especially nowadays, the description of the play, it seems like something out of a kindergarten school. You know, the government would like the private sector to get more involved. The private sector would love to have the support of the public sector. But you know, I don't believe in altruism. I don't think cities work on an altruistic basis. They work on a selfish basis. And the problem is the biggest things that we need to make our cities grow right now is infrastructure, especially transport infrastructure. It's phenomenally expensive. It's very expensive. Governments aren't paying for that. Why should the private sector pay for it if they are not rewarded? So the problem is who pays, who finances, and who benefits are three completely different parties. This is the fundamental problem. That's why very little is really being done on a productive level between the government and the private sector. I think we are starting to have a new kind of language about this. We're talking about value capture. We're talking about, for example, if the government goes ahead and needs private sector investment to make an airport expansion possible or a train station expansion possible, the private sector cannot be motivated simply because they get a little bit of revenue from passengers or whatnot. They have to be able to capture some of the value that's lifted up because of that investment. What we don't have right now is we have a financial set of instruments. We can have tax increment finance. We have increases in stamp duty, but we don't have the ability to draw a boundary around the affected area and measure the benefits. So it's a philosophical, legal idea that still is in a very early stage, but this is the issue. You have to align private sector and government sector initiatives.